I was gonna say, I think both are just two separate cults, because which is so funny. And I think also sides have like ironically kind of switched, because as a Republican now, I'm like so anti-war. I'm anti-sending money to all these different countries that are not ours, while people are sick from the water and children are starving. Anti-pharmaceutical, anti-big government, anti all these things. And I'm like, that is original liberalism. So I'm like, I think I'm more like independent, but I register and I vote as far right as I possibly can, and always will.
I think both sides are very tribal.
Yeah.
But in terms of cult, at this moment in time, I think the left is more cult-like. I was in it for 20 years, what's known today as the woke left, but we used to call it social justice left, progressive left.
Guys, I don't agree with any of this shit, okay? Guys, the reality is, okay, is that things are usually mirrored, right? The more you stray away from the medium or immediate either side, behaviors tend to mimic as you get more radicalized. That's just how it is.
Conservatives as woke.
Right, but here are some of the characteristics that I think make it more cult-like than perhaps the conservative side. One is that if you had questions, you had to check your privilege, or there was always some line that they would use to get you to stop asking questions, which is sort of cult-like. And then the other thing was there was this encouragement to separate from people who didn't agree with you. And so I slowly over time like whittled my world down to just people who were in the social justice left. And there was really, for people who left, which I did eventually, which was a long process, it's a bit like you become an apostate. You don't just leave or have different opinions. It's like once you leave, you can't come back.
That is a cult. It's like Scientology.
Well, I have perspective because I came from a really religious background, and there's a lot of shame around believing something other than what you're taught. Because of that, it makes you feel like you can't express any questions without being told that you're going to hell, you're going to be exiled from your family. And so when I started thinking a little bit outside of the lines of what I was always told, family members literally to this day will not speak to me, will not look at me in family gatherings where you're just supposed to be like, you're my family, aren't you supposed to love me endlessly? And in turn, they've exiled me because I don't believe the things that they believe.
And I think that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
By the way,
Agreed,
I
yeah.
am ironically like pretty far known as far right in my community, and then ironically very leftist at times, because you can't please everyone. But I have never cut off a person because of their political beliefs in my life, but everyone on the left did it to me.
I will say from my own experience, but coming from the opposite.
Yeah, because there's a reason behind that, because most people, or the agreed takes, right, are safer, and you can do and say really dumb shit as long as you're on the side of being accepted. You can be pretty much like, you can do some pretty fucky shit as long as you're like on the left side. It softens the blow.
So
I mean, look at what some of the shit that Hassan says.
George
I mean,
Floyd incidents were happening.
Dude.
It was kind of, you know, a consensus that you should be BLM, rah, 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 all cops are bad. And just me questioning that within my own circles, it's like there's a lot of pushback, and it feels a little awkward because I'm just, you know, it's literally just asking questions. If I did have to, you know, point a finger, I would point it at the left or the liberals for feeling attacked by words that are said on the other side. Because there's not a lot of, you know, conservatives that are like, oh, you said there's more genders, I'm offended. I'm personally attacked by that.
That's literally only one side.
Yeah, it is.
Can the disagreeers please step forward?
Yeah, the man on the whole thing. Settle down.
I honestly think that both sides have very tribalistic tendencies at a time. As far as the question, like, were my beliefs personally cult-like? I don't think that I was in a cult. And I mean, even I think you mentioned that like conservatives don't get offended by speech as much.
Yeah, they're not
conservatives
arguing
get offended
it.
by pronouns. They got offended by Mr. Potato Head. They get offended by all kinds.
Really stupid things.
Yeah, they get very triggered also. And for me, when I left the right, that was something I noticed, because I started off as like anti-SJW, triggered feminist stuff, and I'm like, the right is kind of becoming this way too a little bit with some things, like very offended and triggered.
I would like to push back a little bit about conservatives being offended by pronouns. I think it's more so that they are being forced and to acquiesce to the pronouns of other people, which is, a form of, controlling speech.
Well, don't conservatives get really mad like when the whole pronouns and bio thing?
No,
They're
like,
oh,
I-
look, you have pronouns.
I get what both of you are saying, because my thing is like, why would I ever care if you have pronouns in bio, but I will never call you by
I think it's
them.
more that people just view it as a tribal signifier. So
Yeah, it doesn't matter what camp you're in. If you deliberately mislabel somebody to be hurtful, you're just a shit person. Straight up, it's not.
in the same way that someone might view, oh, that person has a cross in their
do it
profile.
deliberately.
I've
be annoying.
definitely,
I mean,
like, if I see pronouns in
kind of a
someone's
fucker.
bio, I'll roll my eyes. It doesn't mean that I, like,
Same.
hate the person or not, but it is going.
Yeah, like I said, my name is Nick, and my nickname is Nick, right? I say, okay, Charles, bitch ass. I refuse to call you anything else than that. Like, what's annoying?
Going to signify to me in 95%
It's just annoying.
of cases,
I think it's annoying.
I'm gonna know exactly what.
They might not like
I know
it.
exactly
host
who
of
you are
things
almost.
are-
So
It's not that it's a pronoun. It's that I'm being deliberately annoying or deliberately hurtful. Something that they don't want. Like it's not being accommodating is not a problem.
I'm just gonna stay away
Or
from
you're
you.
gonna assume that you know a bunch
yeah.
because someone
But why,
has pronouns
though?
in their bio.
Because I'm not going to participate in your delusion. And my thing
Because
is like,
it's-
you'll never meet a Republican that uses pronouns. It's just a fact. It's only the
Everybody
left.
uses pronouns. Just
Everyone
some people choose to
uses
announce
Okay, well, my
their
pronouns now for the rest of the time are pretty princess.
That's
and if
not
you
a
didn't-
pronoun.
What do you mean?
Those are not even pronouns.
Okay, so what are your
That's
z's,
grammatic.
zems, or he, she?
Yeah, I think
Great.
that pronouns.
Pause. Sorry. I want to pull it back to cult.
Yes.
Okay.
Circling back to the cult idea, we kind of strayed and went to pronouns, which I think is, again, it's like a kind of a hot topic. The media really makes you believe that one side is more of a cult than the other. That's all subjective. Some of the people that are on my side, it's cultish, but it doesn't mean everyone is.
Well, let me
Agree
give you
with
an
it.
example, like, because I agree with you that the media is fomenting these like right side, left side cults. 100%, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So like when I quote unquote like left the left,
Yeah.
it was because I had begun to question the policies that were surrounding the whole COVID situation, and I experienced cultishness on the left and the right for sure. But what I found was if there were people who were willing to listen to me, they were like 95% of the time they were on the right about like, I think the government is trying to control us. I think that they're trying to force us to do XYZ things.
I do think some of it was a little bit hardcore, but at the same time, some of it was like really fucking simple, and it's just like, bro, people have been doing that for years in other countries. You're just way behind it.
I only found
You're
ears on
just
the right, except in
not
maybe
very
one or
civilized,
two
I don't have
cases.
to
So
tell
like
you.
for me, I was like when the prompt is like, oh, the left is or your former side is a cult. That was very visceral to me. There was a section of the right that I could talk to, and they didn't feel like there was a section of the left.
Well, you can always talk to me about it sometime if you want.
I was gonna say,
I'd be
me
more
too.
than happy to talk
I'm
to you
more
about the
than happy
COVID
to
stuff.
have
Thank you, my friend.
I think Trump will win the next election.
You know what? I think it actually has a good chance.
Hey.
I'm not even biased. I'm just as an observer.
Love Trump. I think he's the greatest president we've ever had, and I love him. I've loved him for a long time. Personality, everything. I will say, the more they do this witch hunt after him, he just keeps getting more and more popular. And now that we have free speech on Twitter, you cannot deny that people love him. Like the black community's coming forward, and it's just funny because I love watching them go after him because I think elections at this point are 100% fake and rigged. I just watch
Are you
him
gonna
rise
think
in
that if he
popularity.
wins?
Huh?
Are you gonna think that if
I
he
think
wins?
that. I mean, with the entire world against you, I'd be shocked. But I just think now it's harder for them to hide it.
Yeah, I mean, I had major TDS for his Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah. A lot of
through
people on the
his-
right have it. They were like obsessed with him and crazy.
What? President has been driven if anything insane due to the dislike of Donald Trump to the point of been all wait. What? This just sounds made up.
They,
Yeah, it's a cool thing.
I had major Trump derangement syndrome through.
If you use this commonly and you even know this, if you even know this exists and you use that commonly, you're far gone.
pretty
In my
much-
opinion, you're delusional.
His entire first presidency, except I was a little softer towards the middle of 2020. But even so, I didn't really come around to liking Trump until after he was president. I went totally like Republican in my viewpoints, but I think that like I came around to liking him unfortunately, after his presidency because I saw what we got next. And so now at this point, I'm voting for Trump in the primary, in the general. God willing.
My life was way better then.
My life was way
and I could
better.
afford things.
I'm concerned that he's going to win as well, and I don't think it's because he's the greatest president we've ever had. I think it's because the Democrats have a branding problem. And I think Trump is a brilliant marketer, and I think he's a brilliant con man, and I think he's done a fabulous job making the case to the people who love him that he's going to do what they want him to do, even though he doesn't. So I think he definitely can win. I think they're both wildly unpopular, both him and Biden.
Totally.
I think that there's not a lot of great options. I think the vast majority of people voting want another option, and I do think that his base has more enthusiasm than the Democratic base does.
I think it's funny you say that because I think that about the right. I think we have the worst branding issue in the world. I think the right is so tacky.
The Republican Party does. Trump does.
Yeah, I think the
Trump's a
Republican
great
Party
marketer.
is just so tacky, 20 years behind. But it's funny because I'm watching far left people come onto like my side now, and I'm like, it's starting to.
So the thing I realized, Chaz, is that I feel like people that are more on the like left or like kind of far left or whatever, right? They get mad at a lot of things, and then they want them to be like kind of more perfect. And I feel like slowly people realize that like people aren't perfect and people are all flawed and everybody's like a fucking disaster. And it's like, I don't know.
To shake things up. But it was funny because I think if there was
cucks the
another
whole fucking
option
thing.
between him and the current vegetable we have, and also Kamal is so unpopular, like you just have double trouble with
Yeah,
them.
the Democrats aren't. They're not putting up a viable option. I think
RFK, I thought was
I think the
amazing.
worst thing that the Democrats did for themselves was like push RFK out of that primary
Who
process.
I love, by the way.
I like him too. And now he's running as an independent.
Who is that? Why?
I'd like to start off. I really do
What?
hope Trump wins. I think it's for the best
he dead?
interest of America that he does. Unfortunately, I do fully believe that the Democratic Party is a bunch of political terrorists, and I do believe that they
What?
interest of America that he does. Unfortunately, I do fully believe that the Democratic Party is a bunch of political terrorists, and I do believe that they will do whatever they can to steal the election. You know, it's a hot take, but from the last election with the ballots, I really don't think they're gonna make it
Trump,
easy.
like-
Guys, he kind of had me in the first half by trying to like be out there and kind of be edgy or whatever. But then saying that is, come on, bro.
Called and said to find
Come on, bro.
fake ballots.
I mean, there's a longer call that you could listen to that debunks everything. I mean, he's not gonna end up in jail. All of that is just, a hit job. But I do think the Democratic Party would rather die than have him in power, and I think they could do that because people aren't aware about the ballot fraud that's going on.
Just quick
Which
on
one?
that, on the voter fraud comments that you made. Like, what about yesterday? Sidney Powell just pled guilty to 6 counts of the conspiracy in Georgia against the election there. So that's actual fraud that was committed on the right side for Trump.
There's
What happened? A one-time attorney for or his legal efforts to try to overturn the election defeat. So this would be, and is she gonna go to jail or not?
Fraud that was committed on the right side for Trump.
there's probably on both sides then, but I would say it's much more in the favor of seeing that, during the election count they pause it and they, mail in ballots for Joe Biden.
I also
What's
think
wrong
we
with
shouldn't
mail-in?
take guilty pleas at face value because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
justice system really, really
that would be believing the
incentivizes
rest of
you
the
to
system,
plead
which I don't believe
guilty.
any of it. So I guarantee there's fraud on both sides, and it's all
for sure.
and I think it's all corrupt. So
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he's going to win. I agree with you. I don't trust
Guys, are these guys okay?
the last election results, but I actually don't trust any presidential election results since Kennedy. So I don't. I just think. I think. I am going to vote because screw them. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna allow them to instill apathy in me. But I don't really put a lot of stock in national elections anymore, and I think local is more important. So I think that they probably are gonna not give it to a Republican this time around.
Not give it.
Religion played a part in changing my beliefs.
Join our Middle Ground Patreon to watch this exclusive prompt.
Democrats are more compassionate than Republicans.
Wait. No, nobody is.
Fancy meeting you here.
I was waiting for someone to say something. And you know I hate it. You know I don't want to be sitting here. I will say, I do.
No, I mean, dude, the reality is that whenever you're both kind of balance each other, right? When you're trying to be too nice, right? You cannot be nice to everybody, right? Sometimes you're impeding on somebody else's freedom or whatever, right? And then it fucks them over, right? So it's kind of difficult.
Do you think the
to
left
say that
tends
one
to be
is
more
more than the other.
emotional? I would assume that would come with feelings of empathy. And I will say, people on the right,
balances
I am
out
not
some.
actually very popular on the right. As soon as you disagree on certain things, I mean, the death threats, the
You're woke.
hate. Yeah. Oh, so you're liberal now, and I'm like,
That's what
and
I
there are
thought.
certain things like abortion's a hot topic. I think it's a little crazy and it's a little too far. I would hope that in the future I become a more middle voice in the Republican Party. But I do find in general, like people on the left, I think because you're more emotional, inherently you're gonna care more about people's feelings. I'm not really one to care that much. That's why I'm on the other side, you know what I mean? But I'll give you guys that credit.
I actually agree with what you're saying a lot because they've even done like literal brain scans and they can actually predict people's political beliefs based on their brains up to like 80 to 90% accuracy. Like it's insane. And so I think, well, you're right, that people on the left do tend to think more so, I think it's with their left side of the brain, that has more emotion involvement, which can be both a blessing and a curse, I think, at times, because politics are also about factual information. And so feelings are obviously not all that matter. But yeah, Democrats do tend.
Jack, aren't we like going like? Maybe I'm wrong. Jack, aren't we later going back in the past with this? The same way that back in the days when, if you were a lefty, you're more like left brain, like and then you're gonna have all these conclusions. I think it becomes kind of stupid. I think it's like a stupid dialogue line or.
Tend to be more compassionate at the end of the day.
Yeah, and when I was on the left
I'm
my
gonna
whole
say
life,
your
and,
brain
I was
fuck you because you're
literally
gonna
an
become
emo
this.
kid. So it's like funny being on this side now. Now I kind of like I'm a lot more analytical about things. I try to cut the emotion as honestly a survival tactic at this point.
I agree with that too, because for me in my personal journey, it was very close to that. Like my mom used to tell me that. She's like, you have like zero empathy. But I feel like as I went through my journey, not just like transitioning in politics, but just like I went through my own kind of self-discovery journey. And I feel like empathy really came into play there. And as I started to listen to stories from people that had lived experiences, I was like, wow, I really do feel for them and I can put myself in their shoes. And I feel like now I'm even maybe an empath. Like I'm very much.
You can totally gain it and you can totally lose it.
Yeah.
Totally. It's up to you.
Yeah. But I do feel like since that, I feel like, I am so much more compassionate now towards, humanity in general and people. And as I gained empathy, I became more liberal.
I think Democrats are much more concerned with like social programs that help people who aren't themselves. And I think that they often are the leaders of the civil rights movements of our time. And I think those things and leading policy with people first, I think is a bigger priority for them. And it's not to say that Republicans don't have empathy or compassion, I just don't think it necessarily leads their politics.
Okay.
So Jonathan Haidt has a great book called The Righteous Mind, which I think everyone on this panel would love it probably. But in that book, he's trying to figure out, I think the subtitle.
That's why I didn't step forward.
Guys, that topic is lame. Guys, it's a lame topic. I'm just gonna, guys, if the topic's starts, I'm just gonna skip over them.
Forward, yeah.
Yeah.
Changing sides was traumatic.
See, like, this is pretty shit.
It was very, very, very traumatic. I've grown on the belief, that, black people are systematically oppressed. And that does a lot for a young person's perspective. And when I started to, listen to the other side and I started to dismantle that within myself, I felt like my whole life was really a lie. Not only that, but I was also a pretty big ally of the LGBTQ community. And then seeing transgenderism dismantled in front of me was also very discomforting because I have transgender family members and I was very pro LGBTQ, and it just feeling that like everything's just crumbling down, it took me a lot of time to cover through it. So it was, I remember the feelings very vividly.
I mean, I have a different perspective because, again, we kind of are on different sides of that spectrum. I was raised militantly.
Okay, here's the mega delay taken. I think the word trauma is like a buzzword now. I think everybody uses that just because whatever the fuck, right? Like, not everything that you live in life is like life-changing and gonna scar you forever. Some is just learning experiences. It's not fucking traumatic. You need to settle the fuck down, bitch ass. Sorry, man. It's like, guys, it's hard for me to sit here right now. I think I'm shaking right now. Because the last time I remember when I was young, some guy said like Santa isn't real. And I thought Santa was real my entire life. I thought I was gonna get a gift and I didn't. And like, this is really hard. I haven't come back from that yet. Like, fuck you, man. Shut up.
Religious and political ideologies my entire life. And when I was 20, my sister was killed.
Guys, it's like saying, oh man, like, dude, we should never look at anything dying ever. Remove all types of violence on the internet and on the whatever. And even fucking documentaries about animals, because seeing an animal die is traumatic. I don't ever want to see death. That death needs to stop existing. It's dramatic. Well, dude, dude, sometimes you're gonna watch a bird fucking slam another bird, and if you're gonna fucking have a breakdown as an adult, you won't be able to go to work for 2 months because you have trauma. Well, man, society failed you.
In a car accident.
You failed yourself.
And because of that, and that extreme trauma that happened that had nothing to do.
Go back to what?
A lot of time to cover through it. So it was, I remember the feelings very vividly.
I mean, I have a different perspective because, again, we kind of are on different sides of that spectrum. I was raised militantly in religious and political ideologies my entire life. And when I was 20, my sister was killed in a car accident. And because of that, and that extreme trauma that happened that had nothing to do with my ideologies, it allowed me to open up my eyes to the struggles that other people were going through, because I had never experienced something of that devastation before. So I opened my eyes to like, what else is going on that I'm not aware of, that I've been in this bubble being told that, no one else is oppressed. I was just told that they weren't real and that I had to be steadfast with my beliefs. And if I questioned them, then, there was this fear and guilt associated with it. And it caused an immense amount of trauma that I'm still desperately working through to this day.
I'm sorry for your loss. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's funny because we're on different sides, supposedly, but we have a lot of similar experiences because the social justice or woke world, I was in it for about 2 decades. I worked with comedians who also were woke and pushed woke beliefs in their comedy, and I really was a true believer in it. I thought it was about ending racism and sexism, and when I started to question it,
okay,
it was...
Guys, I'm trying not to be an asshole, okay? So when somebody has like a death and then they say something after that, right? Usually, out of respect, I nod my head and I try to be sensible, right? But I also know that in a lot of scenarios and a lot of people use like something bad in their life, and then they're gonna route a bunch of bullshit, fucking a list of dog shit, and it's like anything that I'll have over there, I'm gonna just route it to the bad thing, so I can just unload it and I win for free. Because if you go against it, I mean, dude, it's linked to my traumatic experience of somebody dying. So like, you're weird for doing it. It's like, well, the link isn't really strong. You're just kind of being a fuck. I don't know.
Like
that's how I feel about
your
it.
whole world crumbling. I lost a lot of friends. They weren't friends. They were allies. That's the way I think of it now. I ended my career and changed my whole perspective. And I think the reason it's so traumatizing, to use that word, is because it's not just like you're changing one opinion on one issue. If you think of your belief system as like a house, you are literally bulldozing your whole house to the ground and starting over with brick by brick. What do I believe about this thing? I don't have an opinion yet on that because I'm trying to read about, I had limited myself in so many ways of what I was allowed to listen to or allowed to read.
holding it?
Within that cult, there are people that you just don't listen to. I had never listened to a lot of conservatives. So
And that's
Yeah,
a problem
same.
in and of itself too. Is
Gummy sticks.
I think to have a good understanding of just society of people of both sides, you have to be able to listen. I think not being able to inquire about why someone believes something that they say and then have a confrontation about it is why there's so much division.
I think something I've learned through this whole ordeal is that anyone, anywhere, on any side that tells me not to ask questions, I'm going to immediately ask questions.
Of course.
You
have
know what I
to.
mean? And
You should be able to.
Yeah.
You should be able to ask questions on either side and just not feel like there's going to be daggers thrown at you for it. I might not necessarily agree, but I'm allowed to hear what you're
They're just kind of
saying.
stalling shit
The
up.
worst time of my life, I lost literally everything, which is weird because I always feel like I've been the same Emily. And as soon as you put politics in it, you're like this different person. I'm like, you guys, it's me. I've always been this
I don't think, guys, I think that the question sucks because as far as good, it feels to me like
person.
the things that they lived were traumatic and then they changed side. It's not the change of side that was traumatic. Does that make sense? I think the question makes you rearrange the pieces and they swap them and it doesn't make any sense.
lost. Like I would
Right.
like to put it in a positive way. It was the worst time of my life. I lost like
Yeah,
that's
kind of being
somebody
bullied for
said this person's interesting. I'll give it a try and I'll
views
skip
and
it
for
then.
speech.
the worst time. And as soon as you put politics in it, you're like this different person. I'm like, you guys, it's me. I've always been this person. But I will say, like on a positive note, like I lost everything, and I'm so happy I did. I would not have my boyfriend, my friends, my career, my spirituality. I mean, it was the hardest and best thing that's ever happened to me. And if people
Yes.
go through that, I think you can either be a victim or it could be the hardest, most beautiful thing you ever go through. And I could not be more thankful. I feel very, very
I love
lucky.
that.
I think for me it was less traumatizing and more empowering. I think knowledge is power, and I think when I started, I grew up same as you guys, very, very religious and conservative, tightly
right.
knit family and community, and there was just a very limited allowance of what you could believe, and there was a very limited view of what America
what's the
was,
next
what
question?
America represented internationally, and as a queer person, it was also conservatives were not super welcoming, and so for me, leaving that space and realizing, oh, the United States is not the beacon of hope that we wish it were internationally, and queer people are allowed to be happy and fulfilled. It just, to me, it felt like freedom, and it felt like, oh, I now see how America became the world's strongest superpower, and there's a lot of issues that come along with that power. And with the freedom we have, it comes at the cost for a lot of other people around the world. And I think getting that information and knowledge.
So I'm saying, okay. I think objectively that is not how they rose to superpower, but
It made me feel like my eyes
Maybe
were
I'm
opening to the
historically inaccurate, I
real
don't
world
know.
and not just what was happening in my community and in this country.
The dual party system hurts America.
You know what, chat? You might agree because it makes sense, right? But then the problem that you have is that you have to. The solution to that is you have to jump completely into the future to make it work. Otherwise, I have split votes and shit, and it just dilutes, and then it's just bad. It's just, dude, when you have a bunch of shit that doesn't fucking win, and it just waste of fucking votes, motherfucker, this is what happens. Dude. I'm gonna say it. Here in Canada we have a bunch, right? Right? We have like orange, blue, red, or whatever, right? Like green never win, do they? Like they just can't win, can they? Orange, like
44-month tabernacle.
they did like it would take fucking decades for them to. So like, you know.
1,000%.
Everybody.
There's 350 million people in this country. There's no way we all have two opinions.
Exactly.
No.
And it's crazy too, because we were just talking at the beginning about
They win seats, yeah, but they win seats, I guess.
cults, and it's like, how do we expect people to not become inevitably
Like,
really
what do you mean, what?
divided and polarized if it's like, are you on the right side or the wrong side?
Yeah,
and that's it, you know what I
exactly.
mean? So like, depending on who you ask, they're going to tell you what they think is the right or the wrong side. But
When you were saying Robert Kennedy, you were saying, oh yeah, he would be a great candidate, and I think he would be able to maybe see both sides. Now he's running for an independent. How often does an independent or a non-Republican or Democrat
Go back to why? Go back to whom?
win an election?
Yeah.
Maybe,
Like
maybe
Andrew
local,
Yang.
but not presidential election. So now we've maybe potentially lost a candidate that could see both sides and could actually make change. But when there's so much division on two sides, there's no way that the majority of people in the United States are actually going to get a change in the ways that they need it.
I think most people are more in the middle and like have a lot more that they agree on than they realize.
What?
But this two-party system, and especially the media, they keep us divided. They pit us against each other.
It's funny because I'm like, I actually should be there because I actually don't agree. I think the two-party system is working perfectly because we're all at each other's throats.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they want.
It's working for what they want.
It's working for what they want and not
they?
for what we want.
The
So it's
establishment.
actually perfect.
who's they?
The
That's what I
establishment,
was gonna say.
the political leaders.
Yeah,
it's like
the-
you have
the
a 50, you have a
entrenched
toss up, a
political
50%
class.
chance of
Yeah.
winning every election because the country's split right in half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone has to be tribal, and we have to argue about things like whether or not trans people are trans or real people. And then it stops us from moving any sort of other conversation forward.
Stops moving forward.
We
Right,
get
like the
caught in these
RNC
culture
and the
wars.
DNC have no incentive to
No.
have like more parties.
Which is
right?
why
Like,
when
they-
Congress puts forth any bills to change the way that elections are
Yeah.
done, or that with even getting people on the ballot from other parties
Yeah.
is
Well, we're like
impossible.
distracted fighting, so we don't know they're like poisoning our food and water, and we're all like literally dying.
And to Blake's point, like, I think a good illustration of this happened in the past couple years where the COVID policies first came down, the mandates and stuff. They completely exploited this right-left thing, and they said, oh, wait, no, all the right people are over here.
You know what's difficult, chat? I feel there's a lot of angles on like why you should vote, in my opinion, right? Like, sometimes a social aspect of it is nice, but if you don't want to align like geopolitically and shit, economically, and all the other things, I mean, dude, I mean,
Here,
Well,
and all the left people
well,
are
how do
here.
you vote then?
And you know, the 70-something% possibly of
You
people
know?
who just kind of follow went with their tribe.
Explain that? No,
they
I'm not-
successfully got us at each other's throats about policy like mask and vax. And did you get
You
it?
know
Are
what
you
I'm
going to
saying,
get it?
though?
Do you agree with the
Losing
policy?
it because of
And you know what
their
happened?
brother, I am
We
great
forgot
tips.
about like where did this virus come from? And now they've all come around. Now that we've all been successfully fighting for years, now they're all quietly in the mainstream media going like, it probably came from the lab that was studying viruses like this, like somehow it got out. Sorry, we didn't let you talk about that back
Well,
then,
that-
because
I don't think
we
it
would have
was-
come
well,
together.
like-
But if we came together, we'd all go after them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they don't
That's
want
why
us
they
to
don't
come
want that.
together.
That's why they don't want that.
They
Yeah.
don't want us to see this middle ground.
I think my disagreement is pretty simple. The two-party system seems to be an inherent flaw within democracy, because if the answer is to have more political parties, I think that loses its efficiency. And if it's to become one, you know, it stops being a democracy. And where the two-party system fails, we should, you know, make some improvements. Whether the two-party systems are actually causing America harm, I think it's just the way, you know, America was designed.
Yeah. Why can't we change it? They don't want it to be changed.
Because they're making billions.
But what would you change it to?
Well, that's. Do you have?
Well,
you have
because
10
I
hours.
would
Yo, Jack, I don't think some guy can pull up and say, yo, haha, let's change this and just fucking redo the whole formula. That's just not how that works. Like, you can't redo the whole fabric of reality, can you?
But you have like 85 days.
Well, what I would say is that, you know, getting down to one political party would, you know,
But you can. So you can say, oh, guys, let's do what, guys, okay, I'm president right now then. Let's do one party then, and it's mine. What's up? You can only vote for our party because there's only one left. And it's also my party. So that's kind of wicked. So you guys think that you can do that? You can do that? You guys think that you can change the fabric of it, okay? Then make it one party and it's mine. I want to dictate because I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you. I know better. W. You should have a choice because my choice is better.
It would seem,
Problem with that?
totalitarian in
yeah.
essence,
I don't
but
agree with that.
I think a
Problem with
lot
that?
of totalitarian societies, if there is a good moral head of that government, it could do a lot of good.
Yeah.
I would say Singapore, it's illegal to spit gum on the floor, and that's because of their totalitarian government, I'm pretty sure. And but it also promotes decency.
Like Dubai, it's like you can't go over there and yell and like shake your butt in a thong, and like I think that is, not okay to do either, and that's kind of totalitarian over there as well.
But those are like very little things that you're giving up to have no control over your own life.
that's also- there's also time and-
like
Saudi
just
Arabia
because-
also is another
Yeah.
example. Is like you will chop your hand off literally if you steal, and as a result there is no crime. Imagine living somewhere where
I don't
zero.
know.
Literally, if you Saudi
Just
Arabia
because-
also is another
Yeah.
example. Is like you will chop your hand off literally if you steal, and as a result there is no crime. Imagine
crime.
living somewhere where
I don't know
zero
if
crime.
there's
There's no free.
Hans flaming. Why is he mad? Is he mad? Hey, Hassan. If I know better, then you shouldn't be allowed to have an opinion or vote on anything else. My party wins. Problem with that? One party, yo. Straight up. My bad. We gotta spread it around. My bad. Let's instead, because I'm just joking, but still, let's do a 40 party system, right? Let's do a 40 parties. Fuck it.
Freedom.
There is
Rather
zero
than
crime.
there's
You will
no
literally
freedom either. And
'cause
again,
of
if we
freedom.
want-
And let's just dilute it down to that. Yeah.
But
I
if
don't
we want
think
to talk
there's
about
no
bias
freedom.
statistics, totalitarian government is not going to be delivering accurate statistics from within when they're saying,
I mean, we
hey,
could
look,
go
we
to
chop
Saudi
everybody's
Arabia.
hands off when they steal, and now crime is at 0%. No.
Well, and people feel like if they vote for a third party that you're giving it to the other side.
Yes, that's what I did in the Hillary versus Trump election. I voted for Jill Stein, and when I was doing it, I was like, oh, I'm so passionate about it. I'm so passionate about it because renewable energy, green energy, whatever. And then I left the ballot, and I was like, oh no, wait, hold on, is that just going to be kind of like thrown to the side? And
It's not. It's just a process. It takes time to change. And I think instead of like trying to go to like a more restricted.
Exactly. It takes time to change. That's what I'm telling you. So if you could jump to the next stage, pog, but it's gonna suck really bad while you're getting there. That's what I'm saying earlier. That's inherently the problem, right? Is that if you want to jump there, it'll be pog when you get there. But when you get there, as you get, it's gonna be completely disastrous, right?
It's society. It's like, how can we fix democracy? And so it's like, how can we actually put power back into the hands of the people? And voting third party, it may not be this generation even that sees the benefit, but it's going to take one person. I think if Bernie Sanders or Trump had run third party, it would have been a much different scenario. But people are afraid to leave the system, and RFK is trying it now, so we'll see what happens. But it's even hard to get on the ballot as a third party right now.
I am still aligned with certain policies from my former political beliefs.
For sure. Everybody needs to go then. Okay, then now, okay, so since they didn't all go, you can now say that this video is brain dead and everybody in the video is brain dead. Because out of every belief and every policy, there's at least one you're gonna hold on to. If you changed everything, you're so malleable, you are a drone, you're a robot. If you are able to change every singular belief, every one of them, you're a drone, literally. You cannot think for yourself then, because nobody has it right
I know
all
the
the way
problem
through.
said policies, but I'm definitely still okay with certain things that are generally seen more as like the conservative thing. I sometimes do agree with conservatives about like people being too sensitive, for example. Like I think that's definitely a problem, or the cancel culture thing, I think is a totally like a fair issue.
Cancel culture is not real.
That is like a very real problem that can be talked about, so, yeah.
I think when I thought of policies, I was thinking of I immediately went to the economy because, why are we going so far overseas and billions, trillions of dollars go overseas, but there are people that are literally outside a Starbucks starving. And I'm like, what's going on? Why can't we help this person? And that's where the conflict comes, because I'm like, hold on, wait, this is a more conservative idea. However, it's also a humanitarian, which I believe is like the root of it. Is we just need to get to like a common ground with that.
Yeah, that's literally
That's
me.
how
I'm like
I
America
feel.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say like make America great again. Like that's
That's-
not
Ooh, I wouldn't say that.
old school Bush conservatism. You know what
And
I mean?
It's funny 'cause I'm like,
that's
yeah, why are we worrying about them when like there is people like literally starving in front of me, and I'm
Right.
still pro-choice. That's an extremely liberal thing in my community. And other than that, I care about the planet. I care about the animals.
Woke.
I care about
Oh my God.
I care about regenerative farming. I think that should be the biggest issue
Soy.
being discussed right now.
Yeah.
The soil is, we die without it, and that
Yeah.
is something not many people on the right are touching, and those are huge issues for me.
Yeah, and like getting back.
See that's being reasonable. That's chill. Okay. So that's the problem is that people that are on a side, right? What about the soil? Yes, she's right. Yes, the soil, as in like, isn't the soil like the earth, like the rock we live on, or she means the actual grass?
Back to like indigenous cultures and
Yep.
letting the indigenous nations
they know what they're doing.
They know
And we destroyed it.
Well, exactly. We have a country, a territory, Puerto Rico, that's literally impoverished and in crumbles due to all the natural disasters, and yet we deny it. But
And the better we help ourselves, the more we can help them. We got to get our shit straight.
I think that
What? Is that? I don't get it. What's happening?
I came out here to say I still hold a lot of the positions I held on the left. And it's kind of funny because I think what's left and right has changed. We don't even know what's up and what's down anymore. Because I always thought when I was in the left for 20 years, you know, I marched against the Iraq War. I was anti-corporations, anti-big pharma, anti-war, and now I feel like things have switched to such a degree that it's more of the right who's voicing those concerns when it comes to questioning big pharma, questioning corporations. And so I don't even know if that's accurate to say I hold opinions that the left holds, because I don't know if they
Guys, these people have brain problem, but like worse than mine somehow.
hold them anymore.
So I don't agree with any of the values that I previously had. I used to be a black supremacist. I used to be anti-American. I used to be a feminist. I used to be an ally. And as I've collected new information and evolved my understanding of the world, I am now pro-American. I see the alphabet community as an acronym for sexual perversions. I see feminism as inherently misogynistic and offensive, honestly.
Bro, you can hear his heart rate. Because they put the mic, for these shows, they put the mic in and they stitch it onto the middle parts. Because it catches through the shirt. Because they're good mics. Listen to it.
Feminism as inherently misogynistic and offensive, honestly. And I see my past black supremacist ways and a lot of pro-black things as very racist. And so it's and offensive, honestly. And I see my past black supremacist ways and a lot of pro-black things as very racist. And so it's a flip-flop, and I'm used to be pro-choice.
That's
definitely
crazy.
not. It's obviously the murder of unborn humans, and I just think it's crazy that we don't see that. And there's no way I could ever go back to holding those beliefs because it just would be wrong.
Never say never, because you've already changed once.
Never.
I don't really hold any conservative values. I'm sure there's some you could find that I'd be like, oh, that's not terrible. I don't really hold a lot of democratic values. I consider myself more a progressive populist.
No, I'm just kidding.
So I think both sides have failed this country and the people in it massively, and I think everyone here actually kind of agrees with that. But we continue to bolster up the two-political party system. I think, like I said, neither of them have worked. Our country is eroding and deteriorating. You can't blame just one party, because every 8 years the White House changes colors, and it's blue and now it's red, and it's blue and it's red. Congress flips back and forth, and neither party has been able to consistently stay in power because they both suck. So we get one, we hate it, we switch, we hate it, we switch. So I tend to think it all needs to be kind of wiped away, rebuilt, and rethought. I think the experiment has failed.
Yeah, you guys say true. Okay, chat. Okay, hear me out. Delete hunger. Delete sleep deprivation, and it'd be nice if everybody was happy. Pog. True? Any chores? True. Yo, any chores in the chat? yeah, okay, dude, you can state a bunch of things that are like the best to have or what you want. Getting there is the only thing that matters. If you can't get to a point, why even bother?
Yeah, that's fair. And both sides have their extreme, you know, far left and far right. And like most people are generally in the middle, but like I feel like there's nuance in things, and people forget that there's like, you know, it doesn't have to be so black and white. It doesn't have to be one extreme or the other. And say, you know, with different policies like abortion, for example, like, you know, we can be, you know.
Listen, chat guys, it's why some systems don't work inherently, because some of the flaws that us as humans have, okay? It's something you can't dodge. Human nature is generally pretty shitty. And a lot of things and systems can be in place because human nature kicks in. That's it. That's just how it is. Okay? So we say, well, we can do this we can all do this on paper, right? And it's a great idea. Cool pog. Okay, let's try to do that. It'll never work.
Pro-choice, but like agree that there should be like a limit on when you should be able to abort the baby. Like there's things that people should be able to debate and discuss and like come to, you know, a compromise on, whatever it is. There's layers to things, and I just think that we're just such a black and white society right now. I feel like we just are so like extreme ones.
I'm not being pessimistic yet, okay? Guys, I'm gonna put in front of the house a bucket with $10,000, okay? And I'm gonna tell people, everybody come here and get $100 each. And the whole neighborhood, we can all eat food and 0 people will die. 0. Okay, anybody that doesn't have the $100, they will die the next day. Okay, shut up. So we all make it tomorrow. I put the bucket out front. Okay, it'll take 3 minutes. The first guy will literally take the bucket and run home, and everybody dies. You can't, like, it's hard to go against that. It's hard to make a system, and it's hard to do things that'll make that not happen. That's just how it is, because we're just shitty. Sorry, dude. Sorry to tell you, chat. Apologies. Sorry to tell you, man. People are shit. It is what it is. Work around it.
Side or the other, and that's why it's good when we can have like we can come in and say, yeah, like I agree with this policy on this side, but this policy on this side, you know.
And like instead of just being like we're banning abortion, like can we just find a middle ground?
Right.
Because we just keep losing on this subject, and I'm tired of losing. Yeah. It's exhausting.
People are dying. But whether you agree with them or not, you just said people are dying. Someone with that viewpoint, they would say yes. Millions of unborn babies. Yeah, like they view it as, even if you don't agree, it's the loss of a human life is more important to them than allowing the government to have the say over what a woman does with her body. They prioritize it here.
I mean, bro, man, wait till they figure out how many times I fucking jerk off a day, dude. Like that's like trillions of people are fucking dying out there, man. Like they're all going to waste straight up.
I'm still
I bust and bro, people are dying out there.
Which I know also, my opinions on abortion have been in flux for a few years. We should become more accustomed to saying, I'm thinking about this thing for a long time.
Yeah, and like that's why I don't hate on them, because I think it's beautiful, and I'm also like a weird Republican. I'm literally pro-choice, but I go, no, you're literally murdering a baby, and I believe it's spiritually demonic. I still want someone to have that right, which is a weird thing, because I'm saying multiple horrible
rational.
things.
Well, I mean, you know what's interesting is who I think you were saying like the experiment has failed, and it's like I think we've strayed so far away from the experiment. I actually think we have to go back to the Constitution, which people have been abandoning on both sides. I'm not going to say one side more than the other. People have been abandoning the Constitution on both sides. Right. So you know, and so I don't even disagree with you. I don't think the experiment has failed. I think that we've gone away from what the experiment was supposed to be. I think we have to take a good hard look at the Constitution and say, what does this say? This is the supreme law of the United States. And there's a lot of people.
Guys, I don't want to be sound like a righty, okay? But genuinely, that is factually correct. I feel like in a lot of ways, yeah, I think they constitutionally only. Yeah, he's right.
Who that's inconvenient for. And good, it should be inconvenient for the government. It should be absolutely inconvenient for the government.
Sorry.
But anyway, that's what I think.
I love that.
All right. Thanks.
Group
hug.
Hey,
Hands everywhere.
Nice to meet you.
You're on both sides, kind of, and that's how I am.
Far on both sides.
Yeah.
But I'm.
See you.
The Constitution is old. Okay.